This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to episode 233 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Hey, Cody. It's been a couple weeks, so we didn't get to do our traditional Oscars recap.
Yeah.
I think mostly because we were kind of blown away by what happened, just like everyone else in the world.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, we're talking about Belfast winning Best Original Screenplay over Licorice Pizza, which blew me
We could not
away.
believe it at the Oscar party. It was just unbelievable. Everyone was mouth agape checking Twitter to see if we really saw what we saw.
No, we're talking, of course, about the Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, which is still one of the weird... I'm trying to think. Like, that's got to be one of the weirdest things I've seen on live TV.
Yeah, I think it goes like Janet Jackson, Malice at the Palace.
Yes. That's a good one.
And honestly, Moonlight winning Best Picture was fucking weird.
That was crazy. That was one of the more bizarre things that happened at the Oscars. Like that was like, oh, okay. Like at the end of things, it was like, oh, okay, never mind. But like the Malice at the Palace, that was insane. This is probably this takes the cake because it's such a it's like two massive A-listers involved, and it played like a bit at first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I assumed it was.
Yeah.
Because like, who slaps a guy?
Well, I mean, I think, on American television, they cut away a little bit, and so it was hard to tell what happened. It almost looked like a punch.
Mm-hmm. It looked like a slap to me, but then like it cut away so much that we're watching on an antenna, so it looks like the antenna fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said the same thing. It reminds me of the end of The Sopranos 15 years ago when everyone thought their cable died.
Yeah. Well, and then it went silent because Will Smith had some naughty words to say. And so it was silence mixed in with like you could read lips so you could tell what was going on. It was just strange. And so America is the only country in which we were wondering if it was a bit or not. I feel like if you would have been watching those other feeds, you're like, oh no, this is not a bit. It was like, pretty evident quickly.
Really bizarrely violent.
Yeah. It was wild.
So I'm wondering, like, at what point do you get like that? Like, see, I've never taken Will Smith to be kind of off the deep end. Like there are certain like actors who have personalities and celebrities that have personalities that you're like when Ron Artest went off at the Malice in the Palace and joined by Steven Jackson all those years ago. Like that was kind of expected because Ron Artest was unwell and Steven Jackson was kind of a basket case at the time too. Mm-hmm. So like I wasn't surprised. But to see Will Smith slap Chris Rock across the face, like, wow, that kind of came from nowhere, it seems like.
It did. And I don't know, like, I mean, I don't know. I think that there's been some weird stuff within that relationship that went kind of viral a couple years ago where I think maybe people were a little bit clued in. And I think there's always been, like, Scientology stuff swirling around them as well. So I don't know. By the way, I finally saw this morning the like 2 or 3 minutes that Michael Che and Colin Jost did on this. Did you catch that?
Yes, I just finished watching it.
The opening Colin Jost joke was very funny.
You're talking about the publicist thing?
No, so it was. He said that
or the award show one.
Yeah,
that was a great joke.
That it sets a really dangerous precedent of having to defend your wife at an award show.
I did like that one, and I liked Che's joke about Will Smith saying love will make you do crazy things, and that what'll also make you do crazy things is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that really surprises me, because it hasn't really been a part of like Will Smith's day to day. Like, he always seemed like relatively balanced, I guess.
Sure.
You know, I mean, obviously,
and a likable guy too.
Yeah.
And I think that was maybe the weirdest source of it, is that I don't, prior to this, he didn't really have a reputation of being like aggressive or violent or problematic or anything. And then all of a sudden, out of like, if you would have shown me the people there, I would have maybe picked him last as the one to get up and slap someone for a joke. But like, man,
I mean, it's such a crazy, like, also the weirdest part was like no one wanting to really acknowledge that it happened, except for like an Amy Schumer joke about half an hour later. And then he wins Best Actor and gets a standing ovation. Like, what's happening?
Well, and the thing was, if you've been following the Oscars at all, you knew that was going to happen, which was maybe even the weirdest thing about it, is that happened. And my immediate thought was, this guy's going to win an Oscar in like 30 minutes. You know, like, what is going to happen here? And then, obviously from there, there's a bunch of stories where I think the Academy is trying to cover their ass over and over again by putting out conflicting stuff.
Yeah. How do you not ask him to leave?
Right.
I mean, I get it. Like, it's an unprecedented situation, but that's like the least you could do.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, you're going to have to go.
Yeah.
This is not going to be cool. Like, no.
Yeah, you just slapped a presenter. Like it's not even like getting pissed off at a host or anything else. A presenter.
And like, you're about to win you're about to have your career, like a crowning achievement in your career. Like, I actually didn't see King Richard. I don't know if it's how his performance is, but I feel like this is sort of one of those lifetime achievement
that's a good
awards too. Okay. I mean, like, he probably should have won for Ali years ago. I mean, I don't remember who he lost to that year, but anyway, yeah, you're getting this like final validation here, and then you go and fucking slap a comedian, like two like fucking funny guys. Like, it's not like there's intensity there.
I need you to vamp for a second. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I don't really understand what Chris Rock how Chris Rock comes back from this, because he really, I mean, I like, he kind of looks like I don't know, like, as a comedian, I don't know what his instinct was to like I feel like he should have said something. Like, I feel like he should have fired back.
I mean, I think as a professional, he did about the best he could, which was knowing that he was on a huge stage.
Sure.
And knowing that, like, he could double down and make this situation even worse, or he could, like, try and move along and not create a bigger scene than needed to be.
Clearly he was stunned, as most of us were, because, like, you don't think, like, people are like, well, why didn't he put his hands up? Because you don't think Will Smith is going to slap you across the fucking face at the Oscars. I wish he would have come back with something, because, like, that would have killed. Like, that would have taken the moment right back to him. Like, if he just delivered something that just murdered, which I think anything might have murdered in that case, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of wishful thinking. I'm sure he's, like, sitting at home thinking, like, oh, motherfucker, I should have said.
Yeah, 1,000 one-liners that are coming up.
Yeah.
But there were also awards that night, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But, like, nobody, like, poor fucking Questlove. Not only does he have to play second fiddle to fucking Jimmy Fallon night after night, he gets his fucking Oscar at the end of this whole ordeal.
Yeah.
But what else? We talked about Belfast. That was my one big surprise. And it wasn't really that big of a surprise. Winning.
It was really that or Licorice Pizza for that award.
And then I think all the big awards went kind of as expected.
More or less. I mean, honestly, the big push for Coda ended up being, the difference maker. If you would have said what's the best picture frontrunner, basically, like every day up until maybe like maybe like a month ago or less, it would have been Power of the Dog was running away with it. And then there was this crazy late surge for Coda that just like went, became unstoppable. I've heard a lot of, there's a theory going out there that because Coda came out in the summer, right? So it premiered at Sundance, came out over the summer on Apple TV to like no fanfare, and then made this crazy late surge, which is very unusual for a movie that came out over the summer. And so there's a theory out there that that when Coda was nominated, enough people had seen it to get it Best Picture nominated, but once it was nominated, everyone started watching it and then really liked it, which would explain why Coda only had like 3 nominations and wasn't nominated for director or wasn't nominated for editing or anything else that usually a Best Picture winner would also be nominated for.
Yeah, and I think it being available easily and being a feel good story is better than it had made it a better made its chances better than something like Power of the Dog, which I still haven't seen, but I've heard it's kind of hard to get through.
It's all right. I think it was vastly overrated. I think the right movie won, in my opinion. There's a lot of naysayers out there in the critical world who will slam Coda for being a Disney family movie or some shit, which I think is a stupid thing to levy against it. But I was happy with that. I mean, I was happy with Troy Kotsur winning supporting actor. It's weird that we have another kind of like Renee Zellweger. We have another situation of an actress winning for a movie that was pretty poorly received.
A Michael Showalter movie at that. Which
I didn't
is
even
weird.
know that until Chastain said Showalter. I was like,
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Like,
And then the other acting awards, Will Smith, and then supporting actress went to Ariana DeBose from West Side Story. Other screenplay winner was Coda. Director was Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. Documentary was Summer of Soul. Questlove winning an Oscar, and then basically everything technical went to Dune.
Yeah, I also was less than impressed about their truncated versions of those technical awards that they gave out before. It made zero sense.
Why even bring about that bad press when all you did was basically just cut out the walk up to the stage? They aired the full speeches, they aired the categories and the nominees. Like literally the only thing that they cut out was the walk to the stage. So they saved maybe, I don't know, 2.5 minutes if that, and the show still went long.
Yeah, well, because you have to throw in that weird version of "We Don't Talk About Bruno" because Disney submitted the wrong song for nomination.
Yeah.
Before that one became a hit.
Also, too, can we talk a little bit about the In Memoriam becoming like a dance number? What the fuck was that?
That was bizarre, and that came after the slap thing, so it was. I think there was still a lot of scrambling. Like people were trying to figure out I was glued to Twitter, like trying to figure out what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
And then that happened. I was like, oh, they still have time to fuck shit up.
Yeah. Well, and I was doing the same thing, and I was hearing this uplifting dance number where people are shouting and dancing, and I look up, and it's the fucking In Memoriam. I'm like, what is going on?
Jamie Lee Curtis is dancing with a dog or something. Like,
yeah, for Betty White.
What? Sure, whatever. They always seem to fuck something up.
Yeah,
like it's so weird that something like such bad ideas get through.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even talking about like misplaced musical numbers, but like stuff like that. Like, no, that's not a great idea. And then last year's whole fucking shit show with the Best Actor award that they assumed was going to Chadwick Boseman that went to Anthony Hopkins, who was like asleep at home. Like, oh, well, sorry. I just can't fathom how like these get past like armies of producers.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that doesn't happen either. Or like I told you, there's always like a comic bit that like eats shit, and like so every single year there's always a joke at the expense of someone that's either like, who is this? What is this movie? Nobody's seen this movie, or something like that. And every single year, people hate it. People hate the joke. They hate the implications. This year it was the Kirsten Dunst thing with the seat filler thing.
That wasn't even that bad. Like it was fine. Like, I get the joke.
Right, but there's that. But then there's like Wanda Sykes made some joke about Power of the Dog taking 3 times to get through that everyone hated again. Like, you're like, who are appealing to with this joke?
Yeah, the Kirsten Dunst seat filler thing, I think, was received poorly, which I don't quite understand. Like, it was clearly a joke. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the type of joke that almost never works.
I guess. I suppose. I mean, the one I'm thinking of is like Amy Schumer talking about Don't Look Up and saying, critics don't look up reviews or voters, whatever the fucking joke was. What was the joke she was going to tell? That she's some Alec Baldwin shooting someone?
A terrible joke that would have been a terrible idea to also tell.
Yeah. Anyway, it's always a shit show, and it's fun. It's fun to watch it become a shit show. I can't imagine a time when it's going to go perfectly. Like, there's always something that's going to fuck it up.
I mean, I think honestly, the way to kind of recover is just get another Steve Martin and Martin Short thing where everyone will enjoy at least their presence. Nothing controversial will happen. You take out like the edgy stuff, but you can still have a little bit of humor. And then,
God, how many slap jokes are going to be made next year?
Oh God. Well, that's the thing, is that they can't hire anyone who's gonna, I don't even know what they do. It's who knows.
Okay. Anything else before we move on?
No, I think we can safely move on.
All right, let's go ahead and get started on reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have Morbius.
You have a gift. You always have. If there's an answer to your disease, you'll find it. I should have died years ago. Why am I still here if not to fix this? I have a rare blood disease, and I'm running out of time. This could be my last chance.
You're up to something. What is it?
That's not exactly legal.
I don't want to see you get hurt more than you already have.
This would be a cure.
At what cost?
So this is the long-awaited or long-delayed adaptation.
Let's go with long-delayed.
Long-delayed adaptation of a Marvel character that I remember as being kind of strangely popular in the 90s, at least mildly. Morbius, the Living Vampire. Mm-hmm. This is another Sony production based on their what would you call it? Like, kind of catalog of second tier Spider-Man characters.
Yeah.
What do they call it? They call it like Sony Universe of Marvel movies or something.
Well, the thing about it is that I don't think it's really lesser Marvel or Spider-Man characters. I just think they don't know how to make a good movie is the problem. Like, Venom should be a home run, and they can't seem to get that right.
So I hate the first Venom. I also hate the second one, but the second one was like at least kind of batshit. That,
I mean, sure.
Look, it's not good, but like I appreciated Venom like at the gay pride parade or whatever was happening in that scene. Anyway, this stars Jared Leto as Morbius, and if you've been online at all this past weekend, it has been dominating the discourse.
Yes.
In positive and negative ways. Cody, tell us about Morbius and what you thought of it.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's a simple enough story where a doctor who has some sort of blood disease decides to devote his life to creating an artificial blood to try and cure the disease. Gets a Nobel Prize, but says, "Nah, I don't want it. It hasn't cured anything," so he rejects it.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah. And so what he does instead is he finds these mysterious bats in a cave in where was it?
I don't remember, but they're not they're vampire bats. I mean, they're real. They're a real thing.
Yeah. And so he decides to basically splice human DNA with these bat DNA kind of things. And he ends up becoming a half man, half vampire as a result. I mean, okay, so the movie has been delayed many times, right? And so right off the bat, probably not a great sign that a movie gets delayed this many times. I think previously it was a January release, right? Last year, and then they bumped it a year to April. I thought it was a January release.
I believe it was going to be released in 2020.
Was it? Does it really go back that far?
Yeah, I saw that. I was reading that today. So the teaser for the film, the first teaser was released in January of 2020.
Okay.
So it was supposed to premiere on July 10th, 2020, before the pandemic kept pushing it.
Go. Yeah, moved it to July 31st, then March 19th, 2021, then October 8th, 2021, then January 21st, and then January 28th, and then April. Look, I mean, the story here just makes no goddamn sense. The movie is so full of plot holes. It's so poorly written. There's an article that you sent me that was from The Ringer that is like 42 questions about Morbius. And honestly, they didn't even scratch the surface if you think about it. You know, you just have these plot holes of like, nothing really makes sense. Like there's this other character that like, that is a kid that he found in like a house for kids who have specifically this disease, who then becomes like a mysterious benefactor with no explanation as to how he has his money. Also,
they're like, it's like a house in Greece, and there's like an American child and an English child. Like,
well, yeah, and like one day Morbius decides this kid whose name's Lucian is going to be Milo, and the very next scene, Jared Harris is calling the kid Milo. Like what the fuck? Like they just like bullied this kid into having a new name. And then, you know, you have other stuff that I think a lot of people have pointed out. There's a scene where they go out into international waters to go perform an experiment, and the boat is for some reason filled with mercenaries.
Yes.
For whatever reason. And, you know, I think that if there's anything redeeming about the movie, I think that some of the special effects look kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think it borrows very heavily from like X-Men Nightcrawler kind of thing, where when moving around he kind of disappears into like a little bit of like a cloud and then will pop up as a thing. I think that it has a love story that it feels like totally passionless, I think, in my opinion, where I never really.
So it's got one of those things, and look, I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging an actress here for being attractive, but it's like you look at this character who's supposed to be playing this brilliant doctor, and she gives off like none of the what do you want to call it, like gravitas that something like that exudes. Like she just looks like she looks like she'd be like dropping the flag in a Fast and Furious race. Like, you know, there's not that, like, you have to like play the part, right? You know, and it just doesn't come across that way.
Yeah, and I think, again, we have a and I think Jared Leto, who is, I think, a good actor. I don't think that he's a bad actor, but he's like sleepwalking through this performance. It's such a weird, low energy, like anti-charisma performance that, again, is also undone by a script that is also sleepwalking. Like, again, none of these it's I can forgive it with the Batman because that's like, a serious crime drama in a way. But like this movie, again, no levity, nowhere to be found.
Not even Tyrese.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's normally like like he's not allowed to have any fun.
No, you have Al Madrigal, who is the only person in the movie having any fun.
Well, I think Matt Smith is having fun.
Yeah, I guess.
But
that's
like
true.
he's not being funny. Like Al Madrigal has a little bit of levity, but fucking Tyrese is like stone-faced serious.
Yeah.
And we're used to him playing the clown from, Fast and Furious all these years.
For sure. Yeah. And so, what you get is this really convoluted story about a guy who like is, I guess, oftentimes fighting an urge to turn into a vampire and do crazy things and wants to do the right thing, and then sees that Matt Smith's character is also, taking this drug and or this cocktail and decides that he's going to dominate the world, I guess. I don't really know. It's that typical, like, he's just going to go on a killing spree or something. I don't.
He's just going to drink a lot of blood. I don't know.
And
I don't
so
know what's happening.
And so along the way, you have a lot of like, just again, like random shit that's that's like brought up but never brought back. They show this like dying girl in a hospital and then never go back to her at any point. They had, there's this like really there's a romance beat that I think is just really stupid that happens on a rooftop. Where it just like I think that's supposed to be an emotional moment, and Michael Morbius sort of whatever happens there doesn't really affect him at all. I think that there's some makeup work that looks janky as fuck. I like Matt Smith looks like a shitty Voldemort. And I just there's just nothing redeeming about the movie. I think it's completely generic in every way. I think the script is bad. I think the performances are wooden. I think the makeup is not good. It's not any fun. And then finally, when it mercifully ends, you have two end credit scenes that just flat out don't make sense. Like, if you're following the logic of what Marvel is setting up, and even including the Sony stuff, it just makes no sense. There's and again, we'll just point it out because if you've seen the trailer, you know that Michael Keaton is in the movie, but
right.
Surprise, he doesn't show up until the end credits stinger, and he shows up in a way that defies all logic that has been laid out previously in other movies, to the point where like he shows up in a vulture suit even though he's in a different multiverse. As the article we read earlier pointed out, there's no alien invasion, so there's no alien technology to even make the suit that he's using. And he's in I'll let you point out the rest of it too, which is the involvement of what it sets up, which also in context makes no sense.
So yeah, so he mentioned Spider-Man, which as far as like this universe, I can tell. So the movie references Venom, like very not specifically, but references the stuff in San Francisco. Which, by the way, I read an article that I think the second Venom takes place in New York, so like he's not around anywhere. I don't know. But as far as I can tell, there's no Spider-Man in this universe. And then Keaton's character, the Vulture, mentions Spider-Man at the very end, and it's like, hey, I've read a lot about you, Michael Morbius. We should team up. I think Spider-Man's involved, but like it's like he's never met Spider-Man. No one knows who Spider-Man is. No one knows who he is.
And Morbius says, intriguing. Why?
Right. Like, first of all, like this is supposed to be like an anti-hero character.
Right.
Like he's not a bad guy. But the Vulture is clearly a bad guy. So
I mean, in fact, the movie sets up Michael Morbius trying to be a good guy fighting off bad. So it goes against everything that we just watched him fight for, basically.
So very clearly, very, very clearly, this movie is chopped to shit.
Yeah.
And from what I only presume is that this thing had way more of a connection to Spider-Man that was lopped off for whatever reason. And maybe that came about because it was released after No Way Home. And maybe that's like, so the Michael Keaton stuff was clearly supposed to be like a big plot point in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a stinger. That the very last shot of the Vulture is just that, like, that's a special effect they added ADR to try to make
100%.
sense.
Yeah.
So whatever was that,
which
what?
by the way, it's two in-credit sequences essentially accomplishing the very same exact thing.
Right. So the first end credits, so like there's he shows up in the cell, like in a jail cell, whatever, like through some multiverse tampering apparently, which doesn't make any sense with what we know about the No Way Home stuff.
Right.
Anyway,
the villains are coming into Spider-Man. It's not the other way around.
but there was also like a thing with Venom too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, that the Venom thing, like he ends up in Spider-Man's universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then gets sent back like right away. But this clearly there was something else going on here, and I'm curious to know what it was, because the original trailer shows scenes with Michael Keaton that aren't in the final film.
Right.
And the original trailer also has a poster of Spider-Man calling him a murderer,
Mm-hmm.
which is, of course, a lot of the plot of No Way Home. So there was very evidently a stronger connection to the larger picture that was ripped out for whatever reason. And I don't know that would have made it a better movie. I think it still would have been boring and kind of as dull as it is. But maybe it would have made a little bit more sense. I do think Jared Leto's a good actor. I think he gets a bad rap sometimes, and then I think he's just a weird prick a lot of the other times. Reading about this one today, the big story is that he pretended to be disabled
Mm-hmm.
through the whole shoot, and then would take extraordinarily long time to go to the bathroom,
causing delays in production.
It's like, good Lord, man, for this shitty vampire comic book movie. Man, I don't know what this thing was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But the end result is some bad shit.
Well,
like I said, you said some special effects look pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really it.
But I was having a conversation with Jerry, my co-host on the Ramble, and he was like, "Well, like literally nothing makes sense. Like his echolocation can apparently isolate him across all of Manhattan to one rooftop, like across the city, and he can hear like a tiny conversation happening across the city of New York. Like it's just stupid shit."
I mean, I don't know how much of those are his comic book powers, because it also doesn't make sense that this blood transfusion or whatever gives him like weird metaphysical powers too.
Yeah.
To dissolve into a dust and shit, but I don't know. It's just there's another movie here that I'm curious to know about, because there's an interview with the director, Daniel Espinosa, which is not very telling, because clearly he's in the middle of promoting and contractually obligated to not talk about what went wrong. But there's definitely a different movie out there somewhere that was way more connected to Spider-Man and way more connected to the Marvel stuff, and this one is just this weird orphan that really sucks. But it's still an hour and 48 minutes long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's bad. It's bad. What's your grade, Cody, for Morbius?
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be the worst Spider-Man adjacent or Marvel adjacent even movie I think I've ever seen. I don't even know what would be worse than this one. Unless it's like very pre-MCU and we're talking like a Punisher movie or something like that.
Yeah, like X-Men Origins, the Wolverine.
Yeah, or something like that. But in recent memory, it's terrible. It's one of the it's the worst, I think.
What was the one with Oscar Isaac, Age of Apocalypse?
Oh, X-Men Age of Apocalypse, yeah.
That was a terrible, terrible movie.
Yeah, and this one is on that level. I give it a D.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a D also. It's really, really, really bad. And, like, I don't know who it's for. Like, I get it. You have these characters that you kind of contractually have to use or you lose them, but Morbius seems like a weird choice to start with.
Yeah, I don't understand it too. And also, it's also like, I mean, you could tell here that I think there's like, I think maybe they wanted to go a horror route with it, and maybe Sony made them back off of the horror elements of it. I don't really know, but like, yeah, this does not feel like complete work in any way.
Yeah, you pointed this out to me, but I guess Tyrese really fell for an April Fool's prank that said Martin Scorsese called it high art or something. Poor fucking Tyrese, man.
There's a Photoshop picture of Scorsese standing in front of a Morbius
the step and repeat thing.
Step and repeat.
God damn it, Tyrese, you lovable bastard. All right, let's move on to our next movie, The Bubble.
We're almost at the nest.
That sounds like a baby crying for its mama.
Now that was a great take.
Welcome to the start of production of Cliff Beast 6. Thank you for joining us in our bubble.
Please make sure you're wearing proper PPE. Physical touch is, of course, off the table. So I would recommend making sweet eyes at each other. I'll show you what that looks like.
This is so exciting. It's like my movie posters have come to life.
You will soon learn to hate these people.
We are one of 2 movies in production right now. If we fail, the studio is going to go down.
I'm not a magician.
I know you're not a fucking magician. If you were a fucking magician, you could pull a movie out of your ass. Oh my God, it's Minnie Driver. Oh, I love her.
So this is the latest from Judd Apatow, straight to Netflix film about a movie in production during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
A would-be satire, I guess.
Sure.
Sure. That's what he's going for. Cody, tell us about The Bubble, what you thought of it.
Yeah, so I believe it was a actual bubble production when it was being made. I think a would-be satire is a good way of putting it. I think that's the intention. I feel like it's for a very narrow audience of people who may have been on a movie set during COVID. I think there's some touch points in here that maybe are maybe inside baseball or something like that. But really you have a cast of characters meeting together to do a sequel to a franchise called Cliff Beast. This is the 6th installment. There's some issues between, the cast members, and Netflix did a fair amount of pretty clever viral marketing surrounding this. Not that I don't think anyone was caught off guard by it or thought it was real, but real EPK stuff that was done for this Cliff Beast movie. And so you have a cast of characters including Karen Gillan, David Duchovny, Keegan-Michael Key, Pedro Pascal, Judd Apatow's daughter Iris, Maria Bakalova, and I'm sure I'm leaving Leslie Mann.
Peter Serafinowicz. What's the other? Fred Armisen.
Fred Armisen, as the director, and really what you get is a movie that is that I think kind of doesn't work on any level, which is surprising for a Judd Apatow movie, because I think this maybe feels the least like a Judd Apatow movie than maybe anything he's ever made. at least in, since 40-Year-Old Virgin happened, at least with like King of Staten Island, that still felt like a Judd Apatow movie because it was like characters hanging out. You can tell that there's like long improvised takes. There's this like certain element of like, I think like kind of like aggressive sentimentality. I think that is, for better or worse, a hallmark of Apatow's stuff. And here you get kind of like this really broad studio comedy, like, I don't know that I would call a lot of his other movies feeling overly like studio movies, but this one feels like a big time studio movie to the point where like I said, those improv fingerprints just aren't there. I think that as a satire of like action or Marvel or franchise movies, I don't think it has any bite to it. I don't think that any of those connective tissue things really hit. I think there's a lot of jokes made at the expense of like green screen and like special effects and stuff like that, which again, I don't think are particularly successful. I think that in terms of humor, I think that probably Pedro Pascal makes it out the best, in my opinion, of this movie. I think that there's actually one funny cameo that I liked, which was there's a James McAvoy cameo that I thought was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, it takes a little while though to realize it's actually a cameo.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he's cameoing, but like what you're seeing, like, are we really seeing James McAvoy? Like, and then finally there's a Professor X joke. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be what it is.
Yeah. And then, but it's like this, it's sort of like this, like cabin fever, like they're stuck in one location and then they are filming this movie with people they don't really like. And then, they start going crazy and they all want to leave, but they can't. And so like, again, again, with humor and stuff, like a lot of it just doesn't work. There's like really long sequences of like clips from the movie where you get to see like full scenes that like take forever to develop, and then a punchline hits of something happening. And then, like I said, the comedy starts getting really broad. You have like a drug-induced like meltdown that happens. There's one scene in particular where it's the exact scene where I was like, "Fuck this movie," which is where Leslie Mann gets shot.
Yes.
Where I'm like, this sucks. Like, this just sucks so bad. Like, it stops being any kind of believable. It stops being grounded and becomes absolutely preposterous at that point. And by that point, I was tapping out, and it disappoints me because I think Judd Apatow is a really, like, he can make really good comedies. I think the later half of his career has been noticeably inferior to, he had that streak of 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, and a movie that I will still defend, Funny People, which I think has a lot of really good qualities to it. But then like This Is 40 and Trainwreck and King of Staten Island are kind of iffy in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, I don't really know what the goal was with this, because if it's satire, it's got no bite. If it's a broad comedy, it's too like silly, ridiculous, over the top. And so what you're left with is just like and by the way, it's really not that funny. I don't think that there's a lot of room for humor here. Like, again, I think you get some laughs with Pedro Pascal. I think Fred Armisen is trying his best here, but I don't really know what like David Duchovny is doing in this movie. I don't really know. I really like her as an actress, but Karen Gillan doesn't really, she's not given anything to work with, I don't think. And on top of that,
she's like the straight man of the film.
Yeah.
For a lot of it. Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, I mean, I don't think that this movie works on any level. I think that it's actually like quite bad.
I agree. And I guess it's less I think it really is dying to be a satire.
Yeah.
Like, it's really trying to be this sort of like big Adam McKay style, for better or worse, satire of filmmaking, which I understand from reading some about this. It's sort of loosely based on the Jurassic World Dominion bubble, from what I understand, since that's shot in England. And I think David Duchovny is supposed to be like the Jeff Goldblum-ish character. He keeps calling himself the guardian of the franchise and whatever. it really ends up being more of a farce, I guess, but it's just not funny. It's just not funny at all. Like, there's literally one thing I laughed at, and it's like during the drug meltdown, Keegan-Michael Key's character like does like these backflips off screen to go get help. Yeah. And it's just like an absurd moment that I loved. It was funny. But the rest of it just is not fucking funny.
Yeah.
Like, I think, for better or worse, I think Iris Apatow's part is probably the most developed. Like, there's actually like a conflict there and like a little bit of an arc, but she's not a great actress. Yeah. I mean, she's fine. But
yeah, I will say there's a supporting character. I think I mentioned this to you, who plays like one of the COVID officers on set.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that guy is pretty funny.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just in a sea of shit. Like,
yeah.
And I don't think anybody's bad. Like, there's a lot of talent here, but this script is just it thinks it's way funnier than it is, and it
thinks it has more to say.
Yeah, and it's and I think it kind of hedges its own bets by saying like, oh well, the world's just hungry for content now, so here's some shit. There's like maybe it sucks, but we meant well, sort of attitude. And like, also, good Lord, is it so dated, like, immediately? Like, there's nothing, I don't think anybody wants to relive any of this stuff. And it's saying it's got jokes that are like, they're not really jokes because they're real things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you needed to stay 6 feet apart. Like, all right, we get it. Like, everybody's wearing a face shield. Like, okay. And like you mentioned, the long scenes of the film, like the fully realized special effects and everything, they do nothing.
It's a waste of money.
Like, we get it. It's supposed to be like a shitty action franchise, but it doesn't even look good.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a movie pretending to make a movie.
Well, and then like, I think when they cut away from it and like you see like the green screen and stuff, I don't even think that it's funny when that happens, and they use that joke like 5 times.
Yeah, like, oh, there's guys in costume pretending to be the dinosaurs. Like, yeah, we fucking know.
Yeah. And then again, just like broad comedy, like within the context of the movie, there's a plot line where you just like shoot the cliff beasts in their reproductive organs and they explode. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh man, this movie is bad.
There is one thing that is kind of funny that Keegan-Michael Key's character, they gave him helicopter lessons, but he only knows how to go up and down.
Oh yeah,
that was kind of a funny touch.
That was funny.
They don't do anything with it, but
there's something weird going on with Maria Bakalova's character where she's kind of insane.
Yeah. There's a weird Daisy Ridley cameo that has no payoff.
Oh yeah. Only to be like, oh, she's also in Star Wars.
Yeah. Like
Pedro Pascal. There's the one funny-ish thing is calling the guy the EPK guy, but he disappears for like long stretches of the movie. Look, man, this thing just sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks, and it's really bad. Like, this, I don't know what Judd Apatow was trying to do, but this accomplishes none of it. Yeah. None of it. What's your grade for The Bubble, Cody?
Well, it comes down to this. Morbius or The Bubble, which movie is worse? And my vote goes to
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Right,
I censored you. Your vote goes to
my vote goes to Morbius. So
okay.
I have to give The Bubble a D+. I'd say they're neck and neck and both competing for a D, but I think that Morbius is worse. I would rather watch The Bubble again than watch Morbius again. So I'm gonna have to give this a D+.
I think I'm with you, only for the fact that I had to go to a theater to watch Morbius. And this was on Netflix. So I don't think quality-wise it's better, but for the sense of enduring it, it is better to watch it at home because you can be like, fucking around on your phone, like,
yeah.
So yeah, a D+ from me. But this is by no means an endorsement of this over Morbius.
Yeah.
I say don't watch either.
No,
they both suck.
Yeah.
But at least this one you don't have to go anywhere. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, we finally have Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
After teasing it 2 weeks ago when we were thinking it was going to be open.
Well, there's a trio of movies coming out. We'll see what we get to. I plan on watching all three, I think. But we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, a movie that I accidentally teased a while back, which is Ambulance, the new Michael Bay movie.
Oh, yeah.
It actually does open this week. I got a screening of it tomorrow. And then Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is also out on Friday, which I didn't hate the first Sonic.
I didn't either. And I've heard decent enough things about this new one. I had to skip it to see Morbius on Saturday morning, but I was pleasantly surprised by the last one.
Mm-hmm. It was fun.
I mean, I think by default that makes it the best video game movie ever.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is playing already here. I got to go down to South Lamar to see it. But.
Yeah. Well, and also I don't mean to get your hopes up, but I believe, and I need to check this out and make sure that it checks out, but I believe that that Ambulance is on track to be the highest rated Rotten Tomatoes Michael Bay movie.
I did see that.
Now he's only had one fresh movie ever,
which
was
The
Rock.
It was The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock is at 68%. Everything else he's made has been rotten. And now Ambulance is sitting at 72% right now.
For some reason, I thought the first Transformers wasn't rotten. I don't know why.
No, 58%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just compared to all the other ones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Cinesnob.net. Find us on Facebook, CineSnobNet. On Twitter, CineSnob. That's it, right? Yeah, just CineSnob. I said that backwards. Right. Cody, The Ramble is back.
Yeah, The Ramble. Tuesdays and Fridays, Ramble Radio. Wednesdays, regular Ramble. And also, I've been promoting this on The Ramble, and I'll promote it here too. If you haven't reviewed the CineSnob podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us a review. Give us a 5-star little text review. It would be nice at some point to be able to get this podcast onto Rotten Tomatoes, and to do that, we need a decent little handful of reviews. So if you haven't done it, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
And look, we will promise to skew all of your DC movies positive.
Oh shit, Joker 2, whenever that comes out, A+ is across the board.
You got it. Whatever it takes.
I have no problem with that.
Whatever it takes for us to get on Rotten Tomatoes, we will. Yeah. Our souls are for sale.
Yeah. Anything Zack Snyder, 2 thumbs way up.
The Flash, what was it? The Flash enters the Speed Force.
Yeah, best movie moment I've ever seen in my life, according to the poll. The best movie moment ever.
Man, if Will Smith hadn't slapped Chris Rock, I think that would have been the best thing to come out of the Oscars.
The fact that Army of the Dead won the best movie of the year, according
Does
to
it get an Oscar? Does it get something?
Much to the chagrin of the Zack Snyder fans, it does not get an Oscar.
Oh, not even like a certificate? They could print one out.
I mean, maybe.
That'd be cool. Anyway. All right. Anything else, Cody?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. On that note, I am Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit CineSnob.net. See you next week.